Welcome to Real Talk Real Estate, the show where we cover how to build wealth in real estate with no fluff, no BS, and no sales pitches. I'm David Greene, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. I've seen the ups, the downs, and everything in between. This is the show where we pull back the curtain and show it to you too. So if you want to build wealth through real estate or you just love learning about it, you found your home. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the David Greene Show, a component of Real Talk Real Estate where we pull back the curtain and share stories, details, and insight into the crazy world of real estate business and investing. I'm your host, David Greene, and we have the biggest, the best, and the baddest real estate investing podcast on the planet here today for your viewing and listening pleasure. If this is your first time here with us, welcome. I hope that you found the community where you can get your real estate education. The show is different than other podcasts in that we don't share inspirational stories or all the fluff and hype that make investing seem different than it is, but rather we show the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you hear about wins, you'll hear about strategies to make money in real estate, but you'll also hear about losses. You'll hear about people that made mistakes. You'll hear about strategies that are not working and what it's like to live, work, and invest behind the curtain of those that manage a big real estate portfolio or have a real estate business. In today's show, we're taking questions from you, the listener base, the community, and answering them for everyone to hear. So if you'd like to be featured on the podcast, and if you'd like to help our community by learning and growing, head over to davidgreen24.com/ask, where you can upload your video to be featured on the show. In today's show, we're going to talk about partnerships, how to structure fair deals with private investors, mortgage strategies, paying down a mortgage versus refinancing for future investments, wholesaling, and how to get started investing if you don't have a lot of money. That one's always popular. What to do when you have limited capital, but you still want to make momentum into real estate investing. Financial planning using income and financial knowledge to begin investing, and more. And my promise to you is that these shows will not only be informational, but they'll be fun, entertaining, and interesting. My job is to make you laugh, make you think, make you feel, and help you learn, and to build a relationship with you so that when it comes time to buy real estate, you contact me and my teams to help you do it. You can learn more about me at davidgreen24.com. You can also follow me on social media at davidgreen24. I'm most active on Instagram. And you can follow my YouTube channel, The David Greene Show, for more content than you're going to find here on the podcast. So if you're looking to build wealth, change your career, or just learn about the craziness that goes on behind the scenes in the biz, you have come to the right place. The show is made up of several different segments. We're about to get into the first one where we take questions directly from the community. This one comes from Jose in Chicago.
Hi, Greene. Wanted to start by saying thank you for all your years of mentorship. I wouldn't be where I'm at in my investing journey if it wasn't for all your years of mentorship. My question revolves around structuring fair partnerships with potential investors. Are those partnerships deal specific, or is it the same structure every time you acquire a property with that partner? And that's my question. I started investing in commercial real estate in 2021, successfully acquired 3 properties, and brought in a 4th partner when I realized that my money was only going so far, successfully birthed that building. And I listened to the Amy Majori episode on raising capital, and I successfully raised about $450,000 over the last 30 days. And I want to make sure I start those relationships with those new investors the right way and in a fair way. So thank you very much. Look forward to hearing your answer. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jose. That is a good question. What do you do when you're structuring deals, and do you do it the same way every time, or should they be different on every deal? I am of the camp that it should be different on every deal. I don't see any reason to do it the same way. Now, you could take a similar template or a similar set of principles to work off of. That's probably less tedious and less stressful, and then just tweak it for every deal. So most partnerships are made up of people that are bringing different value to the deal, and they're taking different levels of risk and work. If you're trying to figure out how to structure your partnership, here's my advice. Most simple way to do it. Start with 50-50 and adjust from there based on who's doing more work, who's taking more risk, and who's bringing more value. Now, how do we determine who's bringing more value? Well, in a market like this where money is everywhere, but it's hard to find deals, the person bringing the money should get compensated less, and the person finding the deal should get compensated more. But if you go back to 2010, there was no money and there were deals everywhere. So you would flip that. You didn't give me enough specifics about the situation to comment on your specific partnership, Jose, but I can give you some examples of how I might look at this. If somebody found a deal that's incredible and they're very hard to find, I'd give them a bigger piece of the pie. If somebody found a basic deal that's everywhere, maybe they get slightly more than 50-50. But how far below market that deal is and how hard it is to find deals in your market is going to play a really big role in how much you give each person. Then there's the money side. When I'm doing deals, I prefer to avoid giving away equity. I don't like to be the one running the show and giving equity to somebody else. And here's why. If it goes wonderful and they get paid, they got a bigger chunk of it than I think that they should have. And they're going to want even more equity next time. It happens every time without fail. If the deal goes poorly, the benefit to me was that they were going to get paid in equity. And so they don't get paid as much and I'm protected. The problem is when it goes poorly, they still blame the operator. They're going to say a bunch of bad stuff about you. They're not going to do another deal with you later. Your reputation is going to take a hit. So when you give away equity, you lose in both scenarios. What I've learned is that most people do better when you pay them debt. I'm going to borrow your money. I'm going to pay you a percentage of the money that I borrowed, a straight cash on cash return. If the deal goes bad, you still get paid. If the deal goes good, you still get paid. Now, maybe you could throw a little kicker on that. I'm going to pay you debt plus 5% of the profits or something if it's a flip. But if you're asking me, my advice is you try to stay away from splitting up the equity because it creates lose-lose scenarios, and you stick more towards paying debt because it creates win-win. You win if you do good on the deal. They win because they got a return on their money, which is really what they were looking for. When we split up equity, what we're actually trying to do is diversify risk and spread risk amongst everybody. And it's not very popular when you're the one who gave the money, but you're the one who ended up taking the hit because of that risk. All right, moving on to our next question from Nick in Miami.
Hi David, this is Nick. So I have a question. Me and my wife both are only 27 years old and both are teachers, investing in real estate to generate some extra income outside our line of work. We have one primary resident and 2 rentals right now. We bought our primary back in March of 2021, bought our first rental at October of 2021, then the second rental back in August 2022. That one is having a higher interest rate, which is 6.25%. But all 3 properties went up in value. My wife and I are both also maxing out on the Roth IRA. So the question is, should I pay off my second rental earlier? Since right now the principal and interest escrow, everything together is around $1,400. So I round up to $2,000 to pay it down. So instead of paying 30 years, it will cut down to 15 years. Is this a wise decision? And I'm also not opposing to refinance down the road if the interest rate drop, or I can pull out more equity from it to invest to the next deal.
All right, thank you, Nick. So the question is to pay off the loan or to keep that money and invest in more real estate. One of the things that I learned early on in my career is that millionaires don't say, should I do A or B? Millionaires ask, how can I do A and B? So let's talk about how we can accomplish both of these goals. When you're paying off a mortgage, you're doing a couple things. You're delaying cash flow right now to get more cash flow later. When the mortgage is paid off, your cash flow is going to go up a lot. You have no principal and interest payments. So paying off a mortgage is one way that you can get to the point where you have more cash flow, a significant amount in the future, but you're giving up that cash flow right now. What you're doing is you're effectively moving money from your bank account, where we call it cash, into paying off your loan balance, where we call it equity. But here's the thing, you're not losing the energy. This is one of the reasons I talk about looking at money as energy instead of looking at it as money, because money has several uses. It's a means of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of energy. When we talk about money, we're usually talking about it as a means of exchange, but that can confuse our minds. So if you instead look at a storage of energy, you realize that energy comes in different components. Now, if we store that energy in the equity of our property by paying off the mortgage earlier and faster, we can still get it out through a cash out refinance. Now, cash out refinances can be expensive. You're going to have to pay closing costs, and you don't know where rates are going to be when you go to get that money out. So like Nick mentioned here, one option is you wait for rates to go down because that makes cash out refinances less expensive. So in a sense, if you choose to pay your mortgage off faster, which Nick might be doing on this mortgage of 6.25%, you're not losing the money. You're just losing the ability to grab it from a bank account where you have easier access to it. You can still get it. It's just longer, slower, and a little more expensive. I like that strategy. If no deals pop up and Nick can't buy anything, he's still saving himself 6.25% interest by paying off this mortgage. If deals do pop up, he can pull the money out in a cash out refinance. If rates are higher and he doesn't want to do a cash out refinance when he needs the money, he can take out a HELOC, get the money cheaply, pay off the HELOC just like he was paying off the mortgage. If rates do go down, he can refinance into a lower rate called a rate and term refinance, or he can do a cash out refinance and get more money out. But you've got options. Now, I love this question because it highlights the fact that when we choose to pay off a property, we are not losing the money. We're just storing it in a different place. This is how wealthy people think. They look at their entire net worth, and that's made up of assets. And the value of your asset is in the equity, and the value of the equity is a combination of what you owe versus what it's worth. When you pay off your mortgages faster, loan pay down, that's one of the 10 ways you make money in real estate. You speed up how quick you're building your wealth. When those properties appreciate and you're paying the loan down, you're getting it from both ends. The only exception to this would be if Nick doesn't make a lot of money and doesn't save a lot of money, and he might miss out on an opportunity because he doesn't have the cash in the bank. So Nick, as long as you're saving money and you're making money, I do like the idea of paying off your mortgage until you know where you want to put that energy. Thank you for pointing this out. I think if rates continue to climb, you're going to see more people that actually look at loan pay down as a legit strategy to build wealth. We haven't talked about this in the last 8 years because rates have been so low that it didn't really make sense to pay them off. But that's starting to come back into the real estate conversation. All right, from Mike in Nomad.
Hey David, big fan of the podcast that you're starting. So my question is, I bought a home recently in Southern California last year as my primary residence with a conventional loan. I'm coming up on the 1 year mark and want to purchase a second home with a conventional loan and also use it as my primary residence when the 1 year mark hits. I then want to turn this first one I'm living in into a rental and use that rental income to offset my DTI or debt to income ratio. However, I'm not sure how soon I can do this because technically I would have just turned it into a rental, so I won't have any rental history to show my lender. So do I have to wait X amount of months before I can begin searching to purchase a second home? Or are there any loopholes or tips I can talk to my lender about so that I can use, like maybe I can use rental projections, or maybe just need to land a lease to show them as proof of income? I also actually plan to operate this as a midterm rental, so does that change things? How do lenders take midterm rental income to offset your DTI? Any advice and help would be greatly appreciated. Thank you in advance, and I appreciate all the real estate knowledge you've been sharing over the years. Thank you.
Great question, Mike. This comes up a lot when people are trying to figure out how to scale their portfolio. Because in order to scale, you usually need to borrow money. You're going to borrow some of that money from the bank, probably most of it, and then you may be borrowing some of it from other people. So when you're buying real estate, most people are using some form of other people's money. Now, when banks are going to give you their money, they want to make sure you can pay it back. How do they do that? By looking at your debt to income ratio. And as Mike here mentioned, when you own real estate and you have a mortgage, you have debt. Income comes from the tenant in form of rent, and that rental agreement is spelled out on a lease agreement. So when you have a lease, most lenders will let you take a percentage of the rent that the lease says you're going to get from the tenant and count it as your income. The rule of thumb is about 75%. So short answer, Mike, if you're looking to keep scaling, you need to get a lease from your tenant that spells out how much you're getting paid, and the lender will be able to take 75% of that number and count it towards your income, which in most cases roughly offsets whatever debt service you have on the property is costing you on the debt side. I hope that helps, and thank you for asking so everybody can learn. All right, everybody, I hope you're enjoying the show. A quick break from today's show sponsor. The One Brokerage is the one brokerage where you can go to get all of your real estate needs met. We've got loans for pretty much every single situation. And how do I know how to answer questions like Mike? Because our loan officers are awesome and they teach me a lot about lending. So if you're looking to scale a portfolio, if you want to get a loan to buy a property, if you want to do a cash out refinance or a rate and term refinance, or you have any financing needs, send us an email at intake@theonebrokerage.com. Or it's even better is if you send me a DM asking about the One Brokerage, and I'll connect you with one of my guys specifically. We've got loans for buying short-term rentals where we can use rent from your tenants to get you qualified for the mortgage. We call these DSCR loans. We can do the same loans on traditional long-term rentals. We can also do bridge loans that you use to buy and rehab properties where you borrow the money for both, coming out of pocket with very little expenses, and then refinance you into a DSCR or a conventional loan for a BRRRR, or you can sell the property as a flip and pay the note off that way. Pretty much every tool that you need to invest in real estate financing, we've got it. Send me a DM to get connected and check us out at TheOneBrokerage.com. All right, next question comes from Alex in Rhode Island.
Hi, David. How are you? This is Alex. I'm from Rhode Island. My current portfolio consists of a 24-unit tiny home village vacation rental, college rentals, and a couple long-term rentals. My partner and I, mostly myself, are looking at a bunch of bigger deals in this area: Newport, Rhode Island, Charlestown, Rhode Island. commercial shopping plazas, retail plazas, multifamily in Newport, redevelopment of an old school into 24 units. We have the construction management experience and the company. We have the development experience. We understand what to do. We have the concept plans. We have the architects, the planners, and the debt. I have people that will finance these projects, but I do not have the balance sheet. We are looking for someone that does, and I'm looking for advice you would give to someone in my position.
Alex, great problem to have. You've got pretty much all the components, it sounds like, other than the money. And I say that's a great problem to have because in today's environment, there is a lot of money that needs to find a home. What you're looking for is someone who has the money but doesn't understand real estate, or does understand real estate but doesn't want to put time in. You need to get around high net worth people that have a lot of liquid cash. Straight up. Now, here's something to consider. Contact us at The One Brokerage. We can fund 70 to 80% of this project. Now you're only having to raise 20 to 30% of the capital. That means you can give away less of the deal to still get the money to be able to pull this thing off. Also, if you own the land, we have loan programs that will let you use the value of the land as your down payment. So in many cases, we've helped people who came out of pocket with $0. Well, not exactly free, but pretty close to it, right? Now, if you have to come up with some money, consider paying people debt. Say that you'll give them a 10, 15, 20% return on their money, whatever you have to do to be able to borrow it, but they won't get paid until after the project is completed. You don't want to have to be coming out of pocket to make debt payments to them before the property is generating income or until it's sold and you have the money in the bank. You articulated that video very well. In fact, if you're listening to this and you want to invest with Alex, let him know in the comments on YouTube. You might find somebody just from the video, Alex. But if not, use that exact same pitch in the way that you articulated it to other people in your circle that you know high net worth individuals. Good luck on that, and go to davidgreen24.com/ask to submit a video letting me know an update on how that project goes. Moving right along here, we got a fun show going on. We have a question from Carly in Tampa Bay.
Hi, David and team. My name is Carly Fisher, and my question for you is, how does somebody get started in real estate investing, specifically commercial and multifamily, starting from the ground up? What would be a good game plan? How do we go about getting that game plan? Thank you so much.
Wow, Carly, that's impressive. You were very articulate. You didn't make any mistakes. You probably did that in one take, and you came across really good on camera. So first off, whatever job you have has probably prepared you for the world of real estate investing pretty good. Now, if you're asking about ground up construction, you're thinking about this a little more than most people do. Let me do my best to give you an overview of what you're getting into. And keep in mind, I don't do much of this myself. First thing you're going to have to get is permits to be able to build. That's going to come from zoning departments in the area that you're looking to do this work in. Then you're going to have to develop the land. You're going to have to run electrical and plumbing to the area. You're either going to have to dig a well to get water, or you're going to have to tie it into the city's water supply. You're going to need a way to get your sewage out of the house. So you're either going to have to run a sewer lateral that ties into the city's lines, or you're going to have a septic tank. Then you're going to have to flatten the land, which involves things like soil surveys and a bunch of government intervention and more red tape to try to get to the point you can even build. When you build, you're going to have an architect draw the plans and an engineer approve them. Once the city approves all of those plans, you're going to have to find a way to finance this. At The One Brokerage, like I mentioned earlier, we have loans where we can do it. Other lenders like local community banks can also give you construction loans where you draw out certain amounts of money at certain points to pay the different people that are involved in the process so that they can do the work. The first step is going to be building the foundation of the property. You're going to level the land, you're going to put the foundation down, and you're going to have all of the infrastructure like the plumbing and the electrical and the sewer run into the property. Once that's done, you're going to have framing. This is when you see like the skeleton of a house being built with all the wood and the 2x4s that go up. Once that's done, they'll usually run the rough-in electrical and plumbing. So this would be something like the pipes for the plumbing going to where the kitchen's going to be and the bathrooms are going to be and the laundry room are going to be. Same for the electrical. They'll come in and they'll put the electrical outlets and the boxes in the areas where they need to go. Once that's done, they'll start to add drywall, sheetrock, and fill the property out. They'll put insulation in. And at that point, it's starting to kind of look like a house. From there, they're going to do flooring and they're going to texture the walls. After that, they'll usually put all the stuff in that it's going to need. This is when your appliances are going to go in. This is when they're going to build your bathrooms. They're going to build out the kitchen. The roof's going to go on. And after that, you have the finishes. This is where they come finish painting, put your crown molding in, put your baseboards in, put your lights, stuff like that. Now, I'm sure I left out a couple steps there, and any developers, please calm down. Like I said, I don't do this all the time. But from a practical perspective, Carly, here's what you probably need to know. You're going to need an engineer, an architect, and connections with the city. You're going to need a home builder or a contractor that has experience building homes. Now, when you get the builder, they will usually put you in touch with people like architects and engineers because they know them. They're going to hire the subcontractors to do the work, and hopefully they're going to manage the schedule of this project. Once the property's built and everybody's been paid, you get to choose if you want to keep it as a rental or sell it and hopefully make a profit. I know so many people are getting into this space now because they realize that existing inventory is very expensive and doesn't make sense. So my hope is if we get more home builders making more properties out there, we can add more supply to a market that desperately needs it. Good luck, Carly. Let us know how this goes. Now, if you heard that message, Carly, and what you're thinking is, ooh, I'm over my head a little bit. I don't know if I really want to do all that. My advice would be to buy a property that needs cosmetic work like paint, flooring, and new fixtures. Maybe a bathroom remodel. Burr it or flip it. Then buy one that needs a little more work. Everything I mentioned, plus maybe flooring, maybe some electrical work, and maybe some plumbing run to new areas. Then do one that needs a little more work. Restructuring the floor plan to build a bigger master bathroom, knocking down walls, opening up kitchens, and redesigning them. If you still like what you're doing, you can consider properties that have massive damage. The key is you're slowly exposing yourself to what contractors do, how to develop a vision for a property, and how to recognize all the small steps that need to happen. The problem with so much real estate investing is that you need permits from cities who move slow as a turtle wading through molasses in the middle of January after it's been shot by a tranquilizer dart. It's horrible. And this is one of the reasons that we don't have enough housing, because government intervention makes it so hard to make housing available to those that need it. So don't get discouraged if this seems like too much. Just start with something smaller and build up to it. And remember, it's not your fault that these projects are taking so long. It's often due to regulation. All right, moving on to the next segment of our show. It is the comment section. This is a segment of the show where we look at things that y'all have said on my YouTube, Instagram, or other social media pages and ask. We like to share the funny, the insightful, and the positive things that were spread, as well as maybe some of the feedback that I got about how to make the show better. So let's see what we have today. From Kevin Harmon, thank you for actually talking about how rough the economy is right now. Most real estate podcasts act like everything is rosy with the economy. All right, Kevin, let's take a minute to pull back the curtain and get real on Real Talk Real Estate. Why do so many podcasts present a rosy view of investing? All right, there's a couple reasons. For one, pretty much 100% of all the podcasts that you listen to exist to make money. How do they make money? They get paid for your views and clicks by YouTube, or they get paid for selling a product that they have. Now, I'm no exception to this. I get paid when you use TheOneBrokerage to do your loan, when you use a David Greene team agent to help you buy a house, when a real estate agent that wants a better broker signs up with Coast to Coast Real Estate and they sell a house, when you join Spartan League, my real estate mastermind, or when Performance Property Management manages your short-term rental. So I make content so that people listen to me, like me, trust me, and say, that's the team that I want to have manage my stuff. In my opinion, this is an honest way to make a living. And that's why I can be straightforward about exactly what I'm doing. I don't have to hide stuff. Most of the other podcasts do not want the ever-loving hell of trying to run businesses. It's very difficult to do this. Nobody wants to run business. I leave Russia because only way to do business is to do difficult business. I come to America. I want to be internet influencer. I want to make courses and sell education. This is easy. I talk into microphone. I give inspiration. People say, oh, I will use you. You look good. Please take my money. I give you. Teach me to do this. I say, okay. I take their money. I buy boat. I take Instagram picture on boat and show them they too can be like me if they buy real estate, but I don't buy boat with real estate money. I buy it with their money. Infinite money. It's way easier, frankly, to make money selling courses and education, and that's what everyone has done. Everyone except for me for the most part, which is why I can be straightforward with you, and they have a hard time doing it. And why is that? If they tell you that real estate is tough, if they tell you that you're going to lose money, if they tell you it's just as much work or more work than that W-2 that you hate, you're not going to give them your money. And then Vladimir has a very difficult time selling his courses. So what I'm getting at here is that the majority of podcasts out there, pretty much everyone you listen to, has to paint a rosy picture of their portfolio to get you to keep watching their videos because nobody wants to hear that something is hard. Think about the 90s and the exercise videos. Remember how they had all of these very happy, smiling, giggling women using exercise equipment, and then they show a close-up view of their abs? That isn't the way exercise works, but it sold really well. Everyone wanted to find a way to lose weight easy. Everybody wants to build wealth easy. So shows that have done really well have focused on inspiration. Now, you'll often see haters in the comment section mad about this. How come everyone acts like it's so easy to buy real estate? How come all the people that they interview are from 5 or 6 years ago? Because those are the only people that are doing well. And you want inspiration. You choose to follow the podcasts that powder your butt, that tell you that it's great, that tickle the little short and curlies. That's what you get for following those shows. They're going to keep selling you crack. You're going to keep taking the crack, and you're going to keep complaining that it's not fun being a crackhead. Well, that's why this podcast exists, to get you off the dope. We're giving you the real talk, and this is a very straightforward comment that many of those other podcasters are not going to like. You're going to hear them say bad things about me. You're going to hear them find any mistake I've ever made or anything they can do to discredit me because they don't want this message getting out there. It is a threat to their business model that shows good-looking people wearing really nice clothes, smiling all the time, looking like they're successful and talking about how great they are because you want that too, and you'll go give them your money or your attention or your views or your subscribing to get it. There you guys go. That is the brutal, honest truth about why most podcasts are inspirational and want you to be all pumped up instead of practical and actually give you information that will help you to build wealth. Kevin, thanks for the comment, letting me get all that out. From Menard Tex Sampson. Love this show, Back to Real Estate, and the freedom to talk candidly. The show is so much different from the other one. I think by the other one, you're probably referring to Bigger Pockets, which was the podcast that I hosted for a long time, but was never my podcast. So I was brought in to be the talent for the show. And in the beginning, I was also the show's producer with Brandon Turner. That changed. Producers were brought in and they started making the shows, picking the guests and telling us what to talk about. I'm not saying that that's bad. It's obviously a good podcast. I have a lot of pride in the work that I did and the fact we grew it to be so big. But I will say, if you like this style, what that means is you like my production. Talent on the Bigger Pockets podcast can share their opinions, they can share their perspectives, but they don't get to control the shows, and it's not their show. They're also going to have different opinions, which is totally fine. Not everyone looks at stuff the same way. The best way to look at Bigger Pockets is it is a platform for talent and investors to share their strategies, their approaches, and their perspectives, which means you need to pick the actual talent, investor, or influencer that you resonate with the most. You can't just pick a platform to get your information from. From Nino Panone, keep your success as quiet as you can and share your failures more. I love that quote. True success is visible by your passion and interaction with others. You don't need to say anything, and brother, we can see your passion and love your interactions. Oh, thanks, man. I believe this comes from the video that I made on YouTube about why I'm no longer hosting the Bigger Pockets podcast. I shared why they chose to go in a different direction with their hosts and why I started this podcast that you're now listening to today. In that video, one of the things I said is that I think you should keep your successes quiet and share your failures more. Now, this flies in direct opposition to the majority or almost all the podcasts that are being made, which have people that are sharing their successes and keeping their failures quiet. If you guys heard the podcast that I did with Ryan Pineda, as well as a podcast I'm going to do on my own show, I'm talking about the failures, the L's that I have taken, which are crazy significant in the last couple of years. Now, what's crazy to me is these L's didn't happen because I made necessarily bad investing decisions. I bought the properties really well. They happened because of things that I did not know could go wrong. Cities stepping in and telling me that I need to fix things with properties that were changed in the 1950s. Stuff that someone did 30 years ago that happened way before I ever bought this house that they're telling me that I need to fix because I tried to make it a short-term rental. Government overstepping and then delaying the process of getting the projects fixed for years. I'm telling you this because I don't want it to happen to you. Are they mistakes I made? Yes, and that's why I'm sharing them. No one told me that this could happen. You benefit from it from listening to a podcast like this, and then I benefit from these losses by being able to share it to you and earning your trust. Now, have I had successes? Yes. And do I share those sometimes? Yeah, but I try to do it only enough to get your trust to listen to me. You want to know that the person that's giving you information is coming from a good place and knows their stuff. So I will share my successes, but just know as you listen, I'm not doing it because I want your approval or I need validation. I try to share just enough to gain credibility and get your trust. And then I will share my losses. Now, the way that I look at it, if you're not in my community, if you're not on my side, if you're not a good person, it's going to make you feel good to see that somebody like me failed. That's your choice. If you want to leave nasty comments about that, if you want to share that word with other people because it makes you feel better that somebody who was doing good made mistakes, that's between you and God. But I want to embrace humility and share with people the mistakes I made so that they don't make it. And we can form a community where people can be transparent, honest, and real. That's what the show is. That's what my future website's going to be at realtalkrealestate.com. And that is going to be the ethos that runs this entire community. We share the good, we share the bad, and we keep it real. I think that this is a breath of fresh air desperately needed in the space of real estate investing that you're not going to get from companies that frankly make way more money than me selling you a dream. But if this is what you like, all that I would ask is that you share the podcast with other people who need to hear about the real. From Adewale. Seems like private equity has been ruining a lot of my favorite YouTube channels lately. Enjoy the professional way you address this, David. That also comes from my video about why I left Bigger Pockets. If you'd like, it's on my YouTube page. It's got quite a few views, over 100,000. Go check that one out. From Hello Romy, don't you actually have to reside in the room and not leave it vacant in order to get certain loans like an FHA? And house hack, surely there are door knockers. All right, I think what Hello Romy is getting at here is if you use a primary residence loan to buy a property, yes, you have to live in it. And an FHA loan is a form of a primary residence loan. And by door knockers, I think she means, aren't there going to be people that come to the house and check to make sure that you live there after you got the loan? That does happen sometimes. So if you're somebody who lied to a loan officer and said, I'm buying this property as a primary residence, and you never intended to make it that, you could get in trouble for mortgage fraud. But if you move into a house to live in it and you were going to rent out the rooms or rent out units, and then something changes and you can't live there anymore, there's no law that says you have to be there. As long as you can show that you intended to live in it when you bought it, you'll be good. From Chris Lucas, I live in the Bay Area and I heard that you just bought a house in Moraga and Pleasant Hill. Just wondering how those are going, and do you ever worry about the California laws for renters and landlords? Thanks in advance for your time, my friend. All right, Chris. I wasn't as worried about the laws for tenants and landlords. Moraga is one of the properties that the city came in and shut down because I was renting it as a short-term rental. And it has been over 2 years waiting to get their approval to make the freaking changes that they said they want me to make. And it's bleeding money every single month. I can't sell it because it's been red tagged. I can't rent it out because they've turned off the electricity to the property. It doesn't have a certificate of occupancy. I have spent tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars with engineers and architects to get into compliance with the freaking city and do what they want. And they are moving incredibly slow. It is so frustrating. And this is a property with a mortgage of $25,000 a month. Now, it was a Burr project where interest rates went up by 2.5 times what they were when I bought it. Really bad timing getting that rate hike. And because this is a $3.5 million property, it's a big balance, and I get hit by really high interest rates. Now, normally you would just sell the property and take a loss, but I can't sell it because of the stuff I mentioned. So it's not the laws against tenants and landlords that are the problem. It's the cities themselves. They're horrible, and they don't care about real estate investors. They care about the people who own and live in the city that complain about real estate investors. And I'm sharing this information because when people go buy the best areas, the best properties, you can get yourself in hot water by cities that don't have any kind of oversight, and there's no one making sure that they stay in check. So thanks for asking. Unfortunately, this one has been a deal that has gone horrible, and I'm waiting to be able to demo parts of the house that they say need to be changed so that I can rebuild them the right way and try to sell it to somebody else. All right, moving on to the next segment of our show, Quick Hitters. This segment of the show, we take quick lines that people have left as commentary. Preference on short-term or long-term rentals from Steve. You know, I like short-term rentals because I think you can tweak with them a little bit more to make them perform better, but they're definitely something that I'd recommend for people that can handle the volatility of an up and down market and economy. Would you invest in real estate out of the country? From Malak? Probably not right now, and that's mostly because financing is very difficult when you move out of the US. You don't get these 20% down loans. You definitely don't get these 5% down loans. It's very hard to get the same kind of financing that we're used to with 30-year fixed rates outside of the US. Will you do events not just in SoCal? From Tony. I'd like to get to the point where I'm speaking in different places throughout the country and doing more events. Yes. So if you guys know anyone that wants to book me to speak, leave a comment here on YouTube or DM me and let me know, and I'll put you in touch with Kyle who can work that out. From Riley, dream podcast guest. Ooh, what a good question there. I like people that are funny, more than just sharing information. And whenever I get interviewed on a podcast, people just want information from me. But I think I like to share a little more of my personality and joke around more than you guys see. So I'd love to interview Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, Jesse Lee Peterson can make me laugh. I had good talks with Alex Hormozy on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and Ed Milet went really good too. And Chael Sonnen. Love to listen to that guy. So if you guys know any of those people or other people in that caliber, please send me a DM or email me and let me know if you could put me in touch with them, because I'd love to be interviewed by them and to interview them on this show. And what a great question, Riley. And from HG Cape, do you allow pets in your rentals? I used to say no. In many cases, now I say yes. Basically, if I have a ton of tenants that want it, I don't allow pets. And if I'm having trouble getting it rented out, I do. All right, that was fun. Let's move on to the next segment of the show, the Real News Report. First article we have, Crypto Millionaires Surge in 2024. According to the Crypto Wealth Report of 2024, the number of crypto millionaires has nearly doubled, with Bitcoin leading the way. The report also highlights a significant increase in crypto billionaires, indicating the growth wealth in the cryptocurrency market. I didn't know crypto was making a comeback. Apparently it is. That's pretty cool. I own some Bitcoin. The reason that I bought Bitcoin was because, from my very limited understanding of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is the most difficult one to inflate. It is hard to add how much of it can hit the inventory at any one time. And as long as that's the case, and people for whatever reason decide that it has value, the value will probably increase. The other cryptos that I've heard, it's very easy to make more of them. They're very easy to inflate. Now, there's a principle in this that we can all learn from. You know what else is difficult to inflate? The supply of housing. It takes a long time to build it. Regulation makes it very slow. It's very expensive to build homes. Not only does it take materials, but it takes labor, and skilled labor at that. It takes oversight. It is hard to build more real estate, and because of that, real estate will hold its value. And that's the principle that I want to share for you on today's episode. If you're going to be investing in something, invest in things that are difficult to get more of. This is why certain baseball cards, Beanie Babies, Pokemon, or other things tend to hold their value. It's difficult to make more of them. Next story, China's economic slowdown worries the global markets. China's economy has shown signs of significant slowdown, raising concerns about its impact on global markets. Weaker than expected economic data, including declining reports and a sluggish real estate market, have fueled fears of a broader global economic downturn. You know, China is a beast out there in the economy, and if they're heading in a bad way, it is very likely to impact a lot of other countries, including ours. I've heard about their real estate market struggling for a long time. In fact, 6-7 years ago, we were getting a lot of Chinese buyers that were coming to California and paying a lot of money for real estate, and everyone made fun of them. Well, look at these idiots paying $1 million for an $800,000 house. They have no idea what they're doing. But see, the problem is that same $1 million they were spending on that house, they were worried about losing its value and dropping to $500,000 because they overbuilt their real estate. They have the opposite problem of what we have in the US. And these idiots that overpaid by 20% have now seen that real estate appreciate well over the $1 million that they paid for it. So what can we learn from this? For one, stop assuming that everyone has the same motives. Somebody may pay more for that property than you would, and that doesn't make them an idiot. Maybe they have a 1031 exchange and they need a place to put the money to avoid the taxes. Maybe they know more about that market growing and they see market appreciation equity happening in the future. Or maybe it's a situation like China where they're trying to preserve their wealth, not grow it. Number two, pay attention to market appreciation equity. When you buy in the right markets, even if you quote unquote overpay, you can still do really well over the long term. And number three, focus on the long term. Wayne Gretzky once said, don't focus on where the puck is, focus on where it's going. Don't focus on the value of real estate today as much as you focus on where it's going, and then try to get it for the best price you can today. All right, and our last article from realestatenews.com, why the market is primed for a mini rally this fall. Article states that more choices and lower mortgage rates may bring out late season buyers, and they could have an advantage over those who wait until spring. All right, before I read this article, I'll give y'all a little understanding of the cyclical nature of real estate sales. Traditionally speaking, more home buyers come out in the spring, they stay until summer, they drop off in the fall, and in winter, there's very few of them. That means you have less competition in the winter months and will usually net a better deal, but you'll also have less inventory to choose from. This is what I recommend real estate investors do. You ramp up your buying in the winter months when there are less buyers to compete with, and you're not as picky anyways as an investor about the perfect house because you want the perfect deal. At the same time, if somebody's selling their house in December or early January, they are super motivated to get it sold, and they're more likely to entertain aggressive offers. On the flip side, I don't want to see investors going out and buying in the spring or the summer if they can help it. And that's because they're going to have to pay way more for the same property because other buyers are trying to buy it at the same time. Now, if you've got a property to sell and you want somebody on the David Greene team to do it, make sure you let me know in the comments or reach out to me. You can get my information off my Instagram or the internet. And I'm going to recommend that in many cases, we try to wait until the spring or summer where we can get multiple offers and way more money. All right, moving on. The article says, while the housing market remains in a holding pattern, it may be well positioned for a mini rally this fall season if potential homebuyers are ready to come off the sidelines, that is. Several economic reports out this week show that housing inventory is at its highest level in more than 4 years. That's a lot. Just as mortgage rates could potentially come down further, especially if the Fed Reserve decides to make a significant interest rate cut later this month. The expectation is that the Fed will begin cutting rates as inflation returns to manageable levels to help the economy avoid a hard landing. How deep this first cut will be and how many follow will influence mortgage rates. So far, I agree with everything we're hearing. For now, however, investors are taking a wait-and-see approach. The 30-year mortgage rate, which is at its lowest level in 15 months, remained unchanged at 6.35% this week, according to Freddie Mac's latest survey. The 15-year rate dropped to 5.47%. The combo of declining rates and more choices could breathe life into what's been a sluggish housing market, said Realtor.com's senior economist Joel Berner. So what this article here is saying is that inventory is up, meaning you have a better chance to buy a house, but rates are likely to go down, meaning more buyers are likely to come into the market and compete with you. So you kind of have a little window right now where you can buy a house with less competition before rates go down and get a better deal. Now, this is different than normally when the market slows down during the fall. But if you throw in this rate cut, you might see a lot of the buyers that didn't get anything during the summer or weren't looking that jump in later when they see interest rates come down. If you would like to talk about a property that you own and try to figure out if you should buy or sell, or if you just want to schedule a consulting call with me, you can do that. Send us a message at info@davidgreen24.com and let us know that you'd like to talk with me about buying or selling a house. And if you want to schedule a consultation call, you can email help@davidgreen24.com. All right, moving on from the news. Next up, we have our viral clip of the week. This is the segment where we talk about clips that are going around in the internet, and I give my take on them.
And I owe $65,000. Things aren't always what they seem on social media. But why aren't you stressed if you owe so much? Well, I'll tell you why, but first I'll explain what I owe. 1. $10,000 in credit card debt that I took out in college. 2. $15,000 loan that I took out 2 years ago for my business and couldn't afford it anymore after 6 months. 3. $10,000 off my car, but that's okay because it's almost done being paid off. 4. $7,000, probably now $9,000 of student loans that I haven't paid since I graduated in 2019. 5. $2,000 left over of a $7,000 loan that my ex let me borrow. 6. $8,000 to 2 individual people who let me borrow money last year when business was absolutely dead, so for a total of $16,000. 7. About $3,000 to individual people that I'm going to pay off this month.
So what am I doing sitting here so calmly when I owe so much money? Well, let me tell you, stressing about it is not going to make it better. So I still enjoy my coffees and I get my healthy meals from Every Table. Every Table sponsor me. And just because I am in debt doesn't mean I have to look raggedy. So I get clothes from Shein every maybe 4 months. But here's how I'm going to fix it. I'm considering declaring bankruptcy. I know a lot of people who did it and now they have perfect credit. And that'll erase my $25,000. My student loans, I know they're going to get forgiven.
Fuck it, it's fine.
Oh, how I would love to believe that this is a joke. I sincerely hope it is. It doesn't seem that way. Let's read some of the comments on this X post. Let me guess, OnlyFans subscriptions take care of the rest. And worse yet, her future husband's going to absorb all of this. Go to work, stop posting online. Her unspoken plan is to find a husband who will pay off her debts. Getting Michael Scott vibes right here. Office reference there. Hopefully he means that this is parody and it can't be real. My inner Michael Scott was actually screaming at me when I was watching this entire video. Now, here's the worst part of this. She borrowed money from other people when she was in a bad place, people that thought they were legit helping her. And there's so much arrogance that she doesn't feel an ounce of remorse about wasting their money. She's smiling. She's looking cute. She's showing herself at the gym. And she's even saying just because you're in debt doesn't mean you have to look raggedy. In the book, Richest Man in Babylon, there's a lesson about how you should never help somebody else if it's going to hurt you. I think the people that let her borrow money are probably really regretting it right now. And she probably was really nice and really cute and really sweet and really fake. Last comment says she was on Caleb Hammer's show. I believe it's called Financial Audit. Title was $1,000 to Shame Fat Losers, the Financial Audit. So if you guys want to see this wonderful gal on Caleb's show, you can check him out over there. What can we learn from a video like this? There are psycho people out there that will hurt you and not care about how it affects them. So just because somebody looks nice doesn't mean they should be trusted. Ugh, let's hope that the next video washes me clean from this gross feeling that I'm sitting in after watching that. Oh, I need a shower.
You want to be a billionaire?
Yeah.
What's your path? What venture do you think like would get you to be a billionaire?
I'm just gonna wake up a billionaire. I'm just gonna wake up just a fucking billionaire. I ain't even gonna know where it came at. Just gonna be, oh shit, I'm a billionaire.
That's lit.
Yeah, that is indeed lit. Just wake up and be a millionaire. This is the financial strategy that we call manifesting. If you're unfamiliar with the manifesting strategy, I'm going to be putting together a course only for high net worth individuals. This is for people that take their financial future seriously, where I will teach you how to manifest $1 billion by thinking about it and convincingly telling yourself that you are worth it. And the universe is going to bring it to you if you just think about it enough. See, the key, folks, is you got to know your worth. And if you're worth $1 billion, don't settle for anything less than $1 billion and just keep thinking about it. You're going to wake up one day and it's going to come, especially if you surround yourself with people that say things like that's lit when you share your strategy. So if you're going through the day and you're working hard and you feel like you're being a sucker, maybe you should sign up for my course. It's only going to be $100,000. You can absolutely take out debt. In fact, if you want to check with the gal from the last video, she might teach you how to raise money from other people by feeling bad for you, which you could then use to pay for my course. And you too can walk around every day feeling like...
I used to sit at my computer every night after work. I'd get off the construction job, get home, I'd pour a Crown and water and study deals. I'd underwrite them myself, watching videos, doing the math, going on LoopNet, saying, oh, how much would I pay for this deal? Where are they lying? All of that studying put me in a position, whereas to now, if a deal comes in front of me, it's good. I'm not like hesitating. I'm like, boom, get it, let's go. I can look somebody in the eye and say, give me that $500,000. I'm about to make you some fucking money, and know that I'm correct. We are releasing a real estate course where not only are we going to teach you how to go through the different levels of real estate, also we're going to partner with people that want to do deals and find good deals.
All right, that video comes from Jay Waller. Now, Jay Waller's been all over the internet, and he recently got into real estate investing. Gentleman started a construction company, I believe in Louisiana, and then took it nationwide. So he learned business, made good money at business, and then had to figure out how he's going to shelter that business from taxes. What he realized was that when you buy a lot of real estate and you use accelerated depreciation through cost segregation studies, if you do it the right way, you can not only get cash flowing real estate, but you can also shelter the income that you made in your business if you're a full-time real estate professional. Justin has figured out one of the key ways to build wealth, and it's to combine business with real estate. Now, very few influencers are going to tell you this. What most people are going to talk about is only one element of real estate, which is the cash flow part, because anyone can understand it. But the people that are building big wealth through real estate or even consistent wealth are usually combining it with a business. Now, if you're somebody who's ever been interested in being a real estate agent, a loan officer, a title and escrow officer, a construction worker, anything in the business, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to look into that and start a side hustle, because there's more ways to make money in the industry we love than just buying the property.
I bought a single family home with my friends when I was 25. 3 of my other friends, we pooled our money. We used it as a down payment. We fixed it up while we were living there. None of us were super handy. We just went at it. We ended up making over $50,000 each person when we sold that house.
Just a couple guys drinking margaritas and using power tools. That's all you need.
Man, I like these stories. Whatever happened to the day when you were young, you weren't trying to avoid the work, you bought a fixer-upper house with your buddies, you went in, you split it 3 ways, you learned how to do drywall, you learned how to do paint. By the way, I never did any of this stuff. I was always working as a cop and saving money and buying the property. But I love the stories of the people that did. Why can't we get back to the hands-on investor? Maybe that's the thing I need to trademark, the hands-on investor. Anyways, what's up with this? I want to be a CEO. I want to wear a suit. I want to look like a big deal. I want to raise the money and let everybody else take the risk. It's like a sickness that's gone through the industry of real estate investing. Let's get back to the buying a house, living in it with your buddies, splitting it 3 ways, all of you doing work to slowly fix it up, selling it, hopefully making some money. But even if you only made a little bit or you broke even, learning about how to work with your hands, how money works, how real estate investing works, and scaling from there.
So the question is, what's better, being an investor or a developer when it comes to real estate? For me, being a real estate developer is far too risky. It takes far too much time. And I've always heard the expression, the second guy in makes the money. So when you're a developer, you're going to have a long time frame. From the time you buy the property to the time you get all the entitlements you need, get all the money together to build the project, get the permits, then sell the project or rent the project out, you could easily be talking about 4, 5, 6, 7 years, depending on the size of the deal. When I go buy a property, and that's the only way I do it, I buy a property, the day I close, I'm already collecting rent. I already own the property. It's built, it's done, it's situated, and I'm in business. I don't have 7 years to jerk around and wait for the property to come into fruition. With that said, I agree. It's very sexy to be a developer. They have great parties. It's a lot of fun to throw a building up there and say you created something. So there is a plus to it. But when it comes to money, I'd rather play it safe and be the investor and just buy already existing building. Be the second guy in.
That comes from the Instagram of Life According to Todd. I've never developed real estate, so I can't have strong opinions on this, but he's making a lot of sense here. And that helps explain why we don't have more people developing real estate. It's a pain in the butt. Logistically, it's a pain in the butt, although it is, but because the government intervention makes it even harder. But that's why I invest in real estate, because even if it's not crushing it in year 1, it always is in year 10. It's hard to make more of it, and that means the price of it keeps going up. Let's take the long game, folks.
I'm 22 years old. I fully support myself. I take home about $5,000 per month. I have 0 debt. I have $60,000 in savings, a $3,000 emergency fund. And I've been listening for the past year or so, and some of my friends and mentors are into long-term real estate investing. So I've been saving towards that for the past couple of years. Ideally, I'd like to start building some long-term wealth. And so I just wanted to see what you guys would do if you were in my shoes.
I do not believe in borrowing money, Johnny, because you've heard that listening to the show. And I don't for my real estate investing. I pay cash for it. I didn't do real estate investing at first. I just started piling money in mutual funds. And when I got enough in an index fund, is what I used, an S&P 500 index fund, it took me about 5 years to buy my first income producing property. I paid cash for it. And then I took all of those rents and I threw it in an index fund until I had enough to buy another property. And then I took all the rents from the 2 properties and I bought another property for cash. And every time I bought another property for cash, I had more cash flow to buy another property faster than I did the one before. Does that make any sense?
All right, let's look at the Dave Ramsey method and let's decide if this is something that will work in today's market, because I just don't know if this is something that would apply today. Let's say that you pay cash for a property because you can save up $150,000, and that's $1,000 a month in rental income. That's $12,000 a year. That means it would take approximately 14 to 15 years to buy another property with all cash. I don't know if I can keep doing that voice, and I don't think it's a very good Dave Ramsey voice either. I kind of sound more like the Monopoly man, if that makes any sense. Remember that guy with the monocle? That's how I picture him sounding, or maybe the Planters Peanut guy. Here's what I don't know about Dave Ramsey's method in today's market. If you buy a property cash for $150,000 and it generates $1,000 a month in cash flow after expenses, that's $12,000 a year. After 10 years, that's $120,000. After 14 years, that's $144,000. So it takes about 14 and a half years to get to the point that you could buy another property for $150,000 with the cash flow from the first one you bought. But what are the odds in 14 and a half years that property is only going to be $144,000? You're probably not going to be able to use this method because the property is probably at that point going to be worth $400,000, which means you're going to be saving up even more cash flow. And we don't live long enough to do this. This is why people leverage money. Now, is it more dangerous to leverage money? But is it something that we have to do in the state of inflation? Probably. So unless you're a Dave Ramsey type that makes money hand over fist, you're probably going to have to take out debt to buy real estate, which is why my advice is that you should continue to save money, budget money, not let lifestyle creep kick in. And because you're going to have to take on debt to buy real estate, make sure you have a lot of money in reserve so you can always pay that debt. All right, everybody, we're going to move into the last segment of the show. This is David's Dilemma or David's Deal. Today, it's going to be a dilemma. Found out today that one of my properties in South Florida that's been vacant for over 2 years because the city shut off the power. Because in the 1950s, somebody added 2 bathrooms to the house and didn't get permits for it. And the city of Hollywood has decided that the water heater for the house is not big enough and needs to be replaced. The problem is that the electrical panel is not able to take on a bigger water heater, which means the electrical panel needs to be replaced. And in order to do that, but it gets even more complicated. The power running to the house from the city is not big enough to provide the amperage that would be needed for the new electrical panel. So the city is telling me that I have to dig and put a new panel in underground, costing tons of money. And to make it even juicier, I have to dig under the neighbor's yard to get the power from the source to my house. And the neighbors have been fighting me the entire time since I bought the property and they found out it was going to be a short-term rental. Apparently, there is a city law that I can't dig through their backyard unless they give me permission. When I told the city about this, they said, then you're just going to have to sit there with a house that doesn't have power. As we continue to fight this wonderful fight, we find out that the house and the ADU is full of mold because the power has been turned off for the entire time. Yes, folks, that's right. When we told the city, they said, okay. And there you have it, folks. That is David's dilemma, a peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be David Greene today. But you know what's going on that's good? This podcast. I love making it. I love you listening to it. I love helping you build wealth through real estate. And I love showing you exactly what it is you're actually getting into. None of the fake realtors that are out there pretending like the business is way better than it really is. None of the pretentious, self-absorbed people talking about how amazing and successful that they are, and you, the little peon, could never be at their level. None of the syndicators raising money for deals, making it seem like you can make a bunch of passive income with no work at all. And none of the lies that spread through our industry. Just good, old-fashioned real talk. Thanks, everybody, for joining me today. If you'd like to participate in the podcast and have your question answered on The David Greene Show, head over to davidgreene24.com/ask, where you can submit that question. And make sure that you subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening, and follow me on YouTube at The David Greene Show. If you could be so kind, please let me know in the YouTube comments what your favorite part of the show was and what you'd like to see more of, as well as what types of shows you would like to see come out on this channel. I appreciate being able to serve you in your goals of acquiring more properties, and appreciate your trust. I'll see y'all next time on The David Greene Show. Thanks for listening to Real Talk Real Estate. If you would like to be featured on the podcast, I'd love to have you. Visit davidgreene24.com/ask and submit your question there. Also, please do me a huge favor and share the show with someone that you love that you think would benefit from this message, and make sure you're subscribed to get notified for future episodes. If you want to reach out directly, you can also DM me on Instagram or social media, and check out davidgreene24.com.